I mean, there's a certain style of government or leadership that really isn't leadership. It's just ass covering, isn't it? Like they just cover their ass. Try real hard not to stir up trouble. Try real hard not to seem like they're doing anything different or unexpected, and then just trying to cruise their way one day at a time without ever actually doing anything significant. And that kind of thing is disastrous for any organization. Alright, so I don't have much more to say because we're just punching dirt here, and it's not that interesting by itself. I was thinking earlier about the fact that we're building a railway through a jungle. I wonder if I should do something about it in the sense of, like, we just cut a path through a jungle, and ecologically speaking, it's not really the best thing to do, although obviously Minecraft does not have ecology. The other jungle up to the Sentinel station, part of it is on a raised viaduct, and so the jungle undergrowth and ground is not really completely disturbed. Also, this water needs to go. But this one just sits on the jungle floor for most of it. Not sure if I need to do anything about that. I mean, it looks pretty good because it's just like there's trees on either side, so you're going down like a corridor, a green corridor. But cutting a forest in half is actually really bad for a forest, if this was real life, that is. I mean, you're cutting off things like animal movement routes. And trees, like a continuous canopy, will protect the undergrowth. Whereas, like, once you cut a hole in it, I mean, it's how forest clearings. A forest clearing is like a hole in the forest, right? And the clearings don't fill up because once you cut a hole in it, the forest, like the trees, actually have a hard time growing in the hole, right? Like exposed to the sunlight. Like weeds and other fast-growing plants will take over and choke out the slow-growing trees sometimes. So, you know, if you consider like two different types of plants, there's the weeds, which is the fast-growing grasses that aren't very tall but they grow really fast. And then there are the trees which grow really tall but they're slow. Like they grow really slowly. So whenever you cut a hole in the forest, the fast growing stuff, the weeds, will move in and grow quickly, and they'll crowd out any possibility for trees to grow in that space. And it will take a very long time for trees to grow back there because they have to compete with the fast-growing grasses for sunlight and water and nutrients and things like that. So clearings are relatively stable things in a jungle, although they do move and they also kind of grow back after a while. It's possible, but it takes a long time. And when you cut a road through a jungle, you are kind of introducing a clearing in the jungle, and so then it changes the surrounding trees as well. Once you cut a hole in it, you know, like the edge of a forest is not as tall as the center of a forest, the trees are there, because of the boundary condition. And having to compete with weeds and grasses and all that. What I'm trying to say is that building a road through a jungle has much wider ecological repercussions than is represented in Minecraft. And so, you know, doing this, with like cutting a corridor through these trees here, it should be pretty bad news for like that tree and that tree, although I mean it's Minecraft, so none of it matters. But it should be quite harmful for the surrounding trees. Didn't mean to punch that out. Let me keep going. Oh, I guess it also introduces spaces that are vulnerable to erosion. Because, you know, in a jungle, in a complete jungle, or a you know, undisturbed jungle, when the rain falls, it hits the leaves, and then it flows down the tree trunks, and so the impact of the raindrops on the ground is reduced because they have to go through the leaves first, and then also the roots hold on to the soil, and so the roots anchor the soil, and so the soil, like jungle soil, is not very solid, but it's stable because the trees protect it from erosion. So then once you remove some trees, then you create a area that is vulnerable to erosion. So for example, again, since we like cut a line through the jungle here like this, where like the edge of this minecart track, or the edge of this road, will be vulnerable to erosion. And once the erosion starts, it eats away at the soil, right? And so then it just kind of starts eating away and, you know, cutting back the soil. Oops. So building a road through the jungle introduces vulnerabilities in the ecosystem. Which are not always obvious. So I mean, this is bad ecology. This particular design is bad ecology. I don't know if there's any good way of doing it, to be honest. I don't know if there is such a thing as a good road through a jungle. I think they're just all bad. All roads through jungles are bad. Bad for the jungle, that is. Often quite good for people who use the road. I did not mean to do that. There's a chicken in the distance looking at me. What's a chicken? What's it doing? Why is it doing that? Why is it... Sure. Oh, it's trying to get up there, isn't it? Okay. Why am I missing blocks? Did I do this? Or is the game glitching out? I mean, it's quite possible that I missed some blocks. But I'm pretty sure I double checked. Alright, so we're here, and then all of that is just straight across. That chicken. But dude, can you like not be there? What is he doing? What are you doing? No, get out of here. Alright. And then we step down here. It's getting super hot in this room. Alright, so we're gonna punch through this bit as well. There again, I didn't punch that out, right? Do the vines... Hold on. Is something breaking these blocks, or am I crazy? I hope the vines are not breaking the blocks. It doesn't do that, right? Like when the vines grow downwards. Alright, and then down here... And then down here... Oh wait, nope. One more. And then across here, although there is a... Oh, that's not... Alright. And then across here. So much dirt punching. So you move faster when you're flying for some reason. Or you accelerate when you're flying. It is getting quite hot where I am as the afternoon wears on. So there's water in front of us, so we should probably come up here and fill in the water as we dig through. Like that. Hi Wesley. Let's remove that. Fill in the water a little bit. I should probably just stay flying. It's probably more convenient. Alright, there's that. And that. How is this war of mine going, says Wesley. It's going. So, my complaint with it is that, like, it's hardcore mode by default. Or there's no... If you die, right? Because it's a game about war, and so... Or trying to survive a war, so you can't save scum, there's no manual saving. But the problem is that I want to see what happens. So I get into situations like, oh, there's a dangerous guy over there, I want to see what he does. Yeah, I'm still playing it. And so I have this mentality of, oh, I want to see what happens. And so I go see what happens, and then I die. And then it's like, oh, now I have to replay like 5 hours of gameplay. Just like start a new game, replay 5 hours of the same stuff over and over again. Because I keep doing stupid things just to see what happens. And I have just found out that if you escape out and quit the game before you die, it goes back to the autosave at the beginning of the day. So it's 1 day at a time. And so I figured the next playthrough I'll just do stuff, and then if I look like I'm gonna die, I'll just escape out. And then replay the day. And that's how I'll save scum. I mean, on the one hand, it's annoying for me because I want to see what happens. So I'm the kind of guy who just does stuff and see what happens. On the other hand, you know, it's a game about surviving a war, and so if you can save the game to try and, you know, manipulate the RNG or whatever it is, then it completely defeats the purpose of the game, which is to basically demonstrate to you that war is, you know, the consequences of war are serious. On the one hand, I understand it. On the other hand, it becomes, I mean, the first time it happens, okay, it's meaningful, but then like after 2 or 3 times of you having to restart the same scenario and play several hours, it becomes less meaningful and more just a chore. And you know, a lot of games have hardcore mode, but the hardcore mode is optional. And you know, I might play hardcore mode sometimes, knowing that if I screw up, I die. But the mandatory hardcore mode is interfering with my gameplay. Yeah, me too, Wesley. I also would like or at least like, you know, have it optional. Have an optional mode where you can try things out and see what happens. I mean, I'm still gonna try things out, but it just means that I'm gonna have to, like, every time I try something out, I have to replay several hours to get back to where I was. And that seems a little bit too tedious. Anyway, I'm gonna try the new thing the next time I play, which is, you know, if I start getting shot at, I'll just escape and quit. And then go back to the last autosave. Like, it autosaves after you die. So once you're dead, it autosaves and you can't quit and go back anymore. It saves at the beginning of every day, and when you die, it's the next day. Would you die easily if you didn't just run towards people? Okay, look. If you play careful, you don't die easily. No, I mean, seriously, the answer is that you don't die easily. If you don't do stupid things.